All right, we are live. Good afternoon, BAIO family. I got a very special guest with me right now. I have a Liberian YouTuber. She does terrific work on what's going on in Liberia, business opportunities in Liberia. I love all the videos that she do. I share it with y'all in the chat. So I'm here to introduce Zawadi EM. Zawadi, first, can you tell us some stuff about yourself?
Hey, Jabari. Thank you for having me in your live today. I'm, of course, a Liberian. I've been in the US for some time, but I go to Liberia every year to work on businesses and, interact with family and friends. What else about myself? It's really hard to give such a long description without just going off tangent. So
No, we got
anyway,
plenty
I
of
went to
time,
school in the
so
United States. I'm more into business. So what else? I mean, I my degree is in business, so that's why I'm very passionate about business. And of course, I'm from Liberia, so I try to implement some of the things that I've learned here in the U.S. to Liberia. I think Liberia has so many opportunities. That's why my involvement is heavily there. Um, and yeah, I just relocated from California to Oregon. I am currently in a CEO in training program, so I'm very busy, and I really do my best to do YouTube.
all right, thank you so much. And we need as many people like that. We here at the BIO are focusing on Liberia because of the historic connection with African Americans and Liberia. And of course, next year being the 200th anniversary of Monrovia, the founding of the Black
Right.
American settlement. So we appreciate, the business because, me, I do civil engineering with a minor in physics and planning to do maybe later on to go to grad to do nano engineering. So, I definitely understand, the opportunities that Liberia has. So can you list some of those opportunities? What are, some things that, people in the BAIO or people, African Americans looking to go to the continent in Liberia can, do business in?
Yeah, so what is always very pivotal is to do your needs assessment, right? So, but as a person who has been in Liberia multiple times and I do different businesses from agriculture to real estate, right? So I can only give based on my experience and also what I have done as far as needs assessment. So if somebody's leaving here to go to Liberia, I would tell them to look more into agriculture. That's one sector that is well needed there, but it's also very profitable depending on what area you want to go into. The other aspect is a grocery store. I've said this multiple times, is very, very needed there. So, I mean, what is it that you can, I don't know if you have 99-cent store where you are, but I think that whole concept can do really well there. But a grocery store would do really well. And ladies and gentlemen, some guys are into like salon or anything that has to do with like nails or hair would do really well there. Because when I went there, I went to a Chinese salon, but all Liberians are working there. I'm like, what the hell? Why is a Chinese guy working over here? It's very weird. So you can open something like that. There is a huge need for such thing there. Another thing that would do well there if you establish a construction company because there are contractors and liability is very it's kind of scarce to be very insured as far as your property. So when one of those contractors fix your house, you can really go back and say, hey, something else on there doesn't work, and there's no insurance there. But as a construction company, right, you have more credibility. So that's something that can really work there too. Just gather contractors, people from different fields can get on your team, and then you can do that as well. There are just so many opportunities. I can't really go on right now to just name all of them, but those are very good ones that came to my mind.
Yeah, and like you said, there are so many opportunities, and that really kind of, when you said the Chinese person owning it, but the Liberians are working that, we in America we talk about that constantly. Here in the Black community, you'll have business in the Black community, but it will be owned by somebody who's non-Black, somebody who's not really in the community, but it's the Black community working there, and so knowing how Liberia is and how we can really use our stuff there. And also, considering the fact that, the US dollar is way stronger than the Liberian dollar, how has that impacted, possibilities of doing business or making stuff more expensive, cheaper? Can you go into that?
Yes, I mean, as far as the US dollar is heavily accepted there, so of course, I think as a business person, it's good for you, right? But then as a consumer, it's a little tricky for you depending on where it is that you want to go. Um, so if you like, I don't know, a lot of your people are they going there for like visit to do business or just to stay? Like, what is it that?
Well, what we're trying to do is we're planning to visit, but we're also planning to see if we can look at some business opportunities because we do have people who are, entrepreneurs, people who are nurses, engineers. And so we want to also visit, but we want to scout for, possible African Americans to come and do business and stay there. So everything that you're giving, any insight that you know about that, we would definitely appreciate.
Yeah, so definitely. So as a business person, the dollar does go a long way. It becomes very more profitable for you. But like I said, as a consumer, um, it's a little difficult, however, because there hasn't been so many businesses in Liberia as far as competition is concerned. Whoever has a top business, good customer service, marketing strategy, they benefit the most, right? And since there is less access, if you, for example, have a grocery store and there are only two grocery stores in a whole city, for example, you can price a water bottle $5 and people are still going to buy it, right? Because there's a need there. So this is the reason why it's very key that we have competition. And many of these things, many of these businesses that I've listed, that is so very scarce as far as the number, as far as many people having those businesses. So if you can go and become a competitor, therefore, your bottom line becomes stronger. Um, so I don't know if I answered that question or I just rambled there.
No, no, you went into that question. It was very much needed because, we don't have a lot of like boots on the ground in Liberia. I know some people in Liberia, but boots on the ground, I'm like not really familiar. So the fact that you said like there's only one or two grocery stores in the entire city, that's going to be useful for us when we plan and when we, try to visit. So what else is there in Peking? In particular, do we need to know about like? Let's say Monrovia, since we're going to mostly likely going to be in Monrovia. Do you stay
So
in the Monrovia area, or are you more on the outskirts, like Buchanan, Cape Mount, Robertsport, Lofa? Like, can you sort of where exactly do you do your business projects at?
So I do my businesses outside of Monrovia, right? For logistics and just for other safety, security type reasons. So, for example, my real estate business, the apartment rentals, are on the Robert Fuel Highway from the airport. So that's where those apartments are. I think the location is very good. And my entertainment center is also on the same highway, the same Robertsfield Highway, right? Because it's closer to the airport and it's also in the middle of the Tower Hill and other communities that really do not have access to entertainment center like a bar. So that's where it's currently being constructed and it's almost done, right? So those things, as far as real estates, they are on the Robertsfield Highway. As far as agriculture, I have it in Bondman County, like my poultry. So I do egg supply. So I supply eggs and, of course, chicken. If people are purchasing chicken, that's where my business is as far as that. And then my other project, like pineapple, is in Bond County, right? Because those are really good farmland and it's very affordable. Like I have 50 acres there, and it's very, very, very cheap, right? It's affordable. So anyway, um, so that's why I have those type of businesses just really outside of Monrovia, and then I have a beach property that I'm trying to develop in Brewerville. That's more of like an upscale neighborhood, and I'm trying to develop that to a more like a retreat resort type of thing. So, like I said, it's really outside of Monrovia because Monrovia is congested. It's more like your New York, and it's not suitable, conducive for other people coming from out of town.
All right, we have a question from one of the BIO members. He said, "What are the barriers to entry for starting a business if you're a U.S. citizen moving to Liberia?"
That's a
Any
good
tips
question.
or advice on that?
That's a very good question. Okay. So I'm going to be very honest and very transparent. Okay. I think it's very key. There are opportunities there that African Americans or people from the US, United States citizens can do business. I'm a US citizen. I have a US passport, but I was born in Liberia, right? So sometimes the barriers to that is navigating some of the systems. You know that we have experienced the war and all of that, right? And things have been very good as far as safety. So some of those areas that deal with paperwork and all of that can be really slow to respond. So my advice to anybody though is know somebody from there to get started. You know, somebody from Liberia, like myself, for example. Although I'm an American citizen, but I can go there and just speak my colloquial, and they'll be just fine, right? So get to know somebody there first.
Quick question on that.
That's one of the yeah. Go ahead.
Quick side note. Okay, so you speak Liberian Koloko. What other languages do you speak from Liberia? Do you speak Grebo, Bassa, Kron?
I speak Kru. I speak
Okay,
Kru.
crew of the town.
What do you know?
I know a lot about the Liberian indigenous people. People say I remember I was on Focus on Liberia. If you've ever heard of Focus on Liberia, people say I have kind of like a Bassa personality. So he gave me like four on the interview. He said Grabo,
You
Bassa,
do.
and then I was like I'm either Grabo or
You do.
Bassa. But then I was like let me go with Bassa because that's what like I was like yeah that's the tribe I kind of feel like I lean towards, and so I've been getting that a lot, so I'll just say, I'm like more like Bossa Boy, Bossa, African American. But I know the crew were resistant to slavery. They didn't allow their people to get captured in slavery. I like the overall mask that y'all make. That is very cool. I like that. So yeah, I'm trying to learn some of those languages, so you can help me. Please
I
help
would
the
say you
BL
like
family.
your personality seems more like a Bassa person, but then as far as your smart, it might be Gribble and Crew.
Oh, okay. I definitely take that. I'll definitely take that. I love the Greybo child. I love the girls. Like, man, Bassa or Greybo, they are both good people. So I was just like, yeah, I'll take them both. I'll say I'm Bassa crew, Greybo, and I will say that with straight up pride. But
Do you know
to get
like the
back,
Crew tribe, like when they invaded when people went to Liberia, right? They were very resistant in being slave, being sold off. So the Crew tribe is very strong and they are very like smart people. And not because I'm not being biased, okay? That's just the history
no,
of the
rep your
Crew.
tribe, rep your tribe. There's nothing wrong with being a crew girl. Nothing wrong. But yeah,
But let's go back to some of the barriers. Like I said, some of the ministries, like the business registry and all of those systems, sometimes it can be a little hard to navigate. But if you have somebody from Liberia, of course, and you pair with them, the initial registration process, all of those, once those are over with, then you can start moving on accordingly. Um, as far as taxes too, that's something that a lot of people from different countries like citizens they like that because you can pay like a one-time fee and then you'll be good, right? And your business can flourish. A lot of those businesses that I've named, like the grocery store specifically, even though there are very minimal stores there, they're owned by Lebanese, not even us. No, and then that's a very sad part. So competition, like I said, is not there, and we need a lot of those.
yeah, so everyone is enjoying this in the chat. We got peace, everybody. Zinga Diggs, like I said before, said yes. And another one, Rule of Two, said this is the stream that, they've been waiting for. So like I said, once again, thank you so much. You are welcome on any time. Another question that I have to ask you is, like you said, the Chinese, the Lebanese are there. What role do you think that Liberians in the diaspora and African Americans can make in really sort of, giving opportunities to Liberians there? What do you think that we should do as, African Americans, Liberian Americans? What do you think we should do so that we can help, our brothers and sisters in the country?
I think we African Americans or Liberian in the diaspora need to have a collective effort that has to be translated to Liberia because I mean we can all do individual things, but if we go in as a collective, we can really penetrate the market accordingly. To help people in Liberia currently, I think is to have this perspective of a team. Like we are working together, like I said, as a collective. I think once you take that message over there, you can go a long way versus, okay, now I'm your boss. You can, do what it is that I want you to do. Then that's where you start to see dishonesty. Again, this is my observation for somebody who do business there. This is what I've seen. This is what takes place as well, according to my staff. So if you go there and work as a team, make them very inclusive in whatever it is that you're trying to do, and then you can go a long way. I don't know if that answer your question.
That does answer your question because I've been trying, with my local community in Charlotte, other African Americans, in like Minnesota. I've tried reaching out to ULAA to like sort of create this grassroots collective. Um, One person asked, she says, he said, Jabari, please state the BL objectives to Missy M, i.e., the African American nation of your own, and then ask her if she and her Liberians will agree with this platform, pursuit, and philosophy. So, yeah, so we do believe in a nation of our own. However, we zoned in on Liberia because Liberia was founded by African Americans. So, do you believe that, Liberia can be that nation for African Americans, considering the history and as well as, some of the skills that we bring. There are, I know I've done a lot of research on Liberia, so I do know that, historically there have been some tensions between indigenous groups and Americos, what people call the Americos or Congos. But is that divide really that there anymore? Because I've heard that a lot of Liberians have never heard of the terms America or Congo. Only outsiders use that. Can you sort of elaborate on that?
That divide, honestly, I will tell you, not just from observation, but from conversation, that divide is really non-existent. I will say that. Okay. I think now Liberians are very much aware that back in the day, I would say many years ago, American Liberians when they came there, they credit the the country then being so stabilized and being seen by other countries as a place to go, right? That the African Americans are people who left from here to go to Liberia and establish and stay there and establish the country in some way. They credit that. They credit African Americans for that. And so they are very much so welcoming African Americans, honestly, compared to even other people. And they wish that, African American could go to Liberia more to explore and see how best we can do businesses there. If an African American go there right now versus a Chinese, they'll rather have an African American there, not only because of the skin color, but because the history of the concept of African American came before to develop Liberia, right? So that thinking pattern, I don't think it exists there. If anything, for me, every year when I go, I take somebody with me from the US that is African American, right? Like, I don't just go selective friends, but I have friends who are African American, and I just try to introduce them to Liberia because I lived in Ghana before, and I'm from Liberia, and I go to Liberia. So as a business person, I see that it's very hard to do business in Ghana, a saturated country. To do business there, it's really hard to penetrate if you really think about it. Yeah, it's a nice country as far as they're developing gradually, but as far as the opportunities, it's not comparable as far to Liberia. You can easily get properties in Liberia versus Ghana. I mean, I don't want to like compare the two countries right now, but I'm just having a brief um,
No, no, definitely. I like how you
brief comparison.
it's okay to compare, but it's good. It's good that you say that because a lot of African Americans have been focusing on Ghana. Like Ghana is the only country in Africa, especially considering the year of return and beyond the year of return. But people forget about the historic significance of Liberia. Like not only a place to go to, but it really captivated the minds of many African American leaders. And that's one of the things in the BAO channel I constantly bring up is how important Liberia was, and the fact that you're introducing African Americans to Liberia. I applaud you for that, and that really made me like when you first said that, it made me jump for joy because we need more people like that. Another person said,
I
Dr.
have
Gillian.
three friends from Atlanta, Louisiana, who have actually African Americans who have actually purchase properties in Burrville, in Liberia, and we're actually going back in December for them to start their projects. I mean, honestly, Liberia is more inviting for African Americans here. Like I said, we have such history that hasn't really been told multiple times over and over, and Liberia is being left out. But if you take a look at your history, I'm sure you already know this, but the first president came from Virginia. Think
Yep,
about it.
Joseph Jenkins Roberts. Yes,
So
yes, yes. Um, yeah, it just really, in the way that Liberia is told in the media, like, what is your perspective on that? Because I've seen over and over and over again Liberia portrayed in this bad light. Quick note from Dr. Villian. Dr. Villian Riser says, yeah, I'm in Minnesota, and it's a lot of Liberians in Minneapolis. I know the largest community there. But can you talk about that? Because we see, on YouTube, on Twitter, people talking about Liberia in a bad light is usually told by non-African Americans, non-Liberians. So what is your take on that? And what do you think we as African Americans can do to take back that narrative of Liberia?
okay, so Liberia has her struggles as with everywhere else. Even the United States has homeless issues, right? Even Ghana, whatever country that you want to list right now, they do have issues. But when you have the war or Ebola, people try to amplify those issues, then some of the potential opportunities that are there is just propaganda, is what it is. If I'm a Ghanaian, I'm going to talk bad about Nigeria or Liberia because you know what? I want a lot of people to come to Ghana. That's just what it is. But as a person, it's very key for you to do your own research, for you to take the initiative to go there to experience it for yourself. Because the standard in which Liberia is being compared to, oftentimes, I think, is being compared to the United States. So somebody will go there and say, oh, they have only like 2-3 lanes going one way, and they expect you to have like 6 lanes. That's like lane, like roll for cars to go through, whatever. Those are some of the comparisons. Of course, you can't really compare that, right? But in order for that narrative to be changed, I think a lot of people here have to go to Liberia to do their own assessments, to take a look themselves, and also to come back or to gather in group and really discuss how we can all help in some of the areas that are lacking. I think that would be very, very, very key. Um, what else? I can't really think right now. I don't know why I'm so nervous. I don't know.
It's okay, relax. We got plenty of time. We do like say what you got to say. Give us all this information. We're appreciating everything you're giving us right now. Underrated mindset. Has there been businesses that of started in the art, media, entertainment industry? If so, were those successful?
Okay, so there are two gentlemen who currently live in Los Angeles who are exploring the uh, the theater arena for Liberia, right? Like film school. They all want to start film school in Liberia. But as far as anything else, broadcast has been very successful. So you can see like channel like Spoon TV and KMTV that has been extremely successful. So those two, I would say, people left the U.S. here and established them there, and so those two have been very successful as far as the media is concerned. But I have also the same gentleman is working with Akon to to do some filming stuff. So that's as far as media is concerned, that's what I know. But as far as success, broadcast has been successful. Those two stations.
Yeah, side note, I actually subscribe to KMTV, KMT Liberia. I do
Yeah.
subscribe to that, so definitely, yeah. Umoja B asked the question, does she know how we could connect with some government officials or local organizations while we are here and planning our trip? If there's any collectives, civil societies there, any, associations in Liberia that we can get in contact with so that, we can make those connections, that would be really appreciated.
That's a very good question. As far as government, I don't like to politicize anything, but I won't necessarily say that's a good route. However, if you really want to go in that direction, you might want to just think about organizations that function in that way. And I can think of the organization right at the top of my head. but I can obviously send you more information, Jabari. I know one, but I can't remember what it's called. Liberian Susu is part of it. So I have to, I don't know if you follow Suma on Instagram, but she's very heavily involved in that, and she does work with an organization. So I will definitely get the name of that. However, I will say you should go the government route.
All right. Because would you say that due to the fact that there's a lot of corruption or the way that what's going on right now with George Weah and economic downturn, would you contribute it to that, or it's just because of the Civil War and everything that happened that the structure was like? Where would you say that root comes from?
I think it's not necessarily from the war. I think it does come from certain individuals being dishonest. That's what it is. So if you have like five people, you have two honest people, the three are with them, right? So you don't really want to go that route, because if you go the route of government, you could meet somebody very honest, but to go to the next step, there's somebody dishonest. So then you run into this problem of chaos, and then you get easily frustrated. So oftentimes I really give people the recommendation to start from private sector. Just go privately and you will be definitely fine. And then once you establish yourself a little bit, then you start to make friends within the government. But initially, don't do it.
All right, that is a very helpful tip.
Because
But
your friendship extend after you establish a business, right? Then they see that, okay, this person means well, right? This person is bringing jobs and other things to the country. But initially, you're gonna have a lot of run around that you just do not need.
all right, thank you. That because I was always saying, we need to talk to government officials. I've been looking like, where these government officials at. Maybe we could talk to these government officials while we are, they are in different counties because they have 16 different counties and there are like 30 congressmen, 73 House of Representatives. I was just like, maybe we can, get a couple of them. But then once you said like, they may not be honest actors, and we've seen that because we see the current situation with the renovations, that money going down the drain, and then the 16 Liberian dollars, nobody know where that money went at. So yeah, that is definitely important. We'll definitely be, doing on the grassroots. Baruti said, Jabari, please ask Miss how is it Miss EM or is that right?
Yeah. M
I
is
just want to
fine
make
too,
sure.
yes.
All right. Miss M, how she feels or perhaps she perceives the mass of the Liberian population will feel about a contemporary effort to, populate Liberia with a significant weight of African Americans, basically saying, how would Liberians feel if, African Americans were to come there, like, in mass? How would they feel? Do you think there would be kind of a backlash? How can we sort of mitigate that if that were supposed to happen? What would be, your say on that?
Okay, so I've lived in many African countries. I lived in Cote d'Ivoire, I lived in Ghana, I've been to Togo, I've been to Nigeria. Liberia, out of all of them, will be more inviting to African Americans than any of those other places that I've listed for many reasons. One, like I said, a lot of young people occupy Liberia. I think 70% of the labor force is consists of young folks. That's the first thing. So a lot of these people are very welcoming to people who look like them. As far as the skin color is concerned, they are more welcoming to people who look like them than people who do not look like them. So initially, when they were fighting for dual citizenship, you could hear a lot of the voters say, we are okay with African Americans, then we're okay with the white person coming here to own our land. So they are more so looking forward to our brothers and sisters going back home to help with just not only development but to stay if it's applicable for their conditions. They'll be very welcoming. Whenever I would take people back home, like they felt so much at home. It's something it brought tears to my eyes. Like very much inviting. They fit into the system, and English is spoken there compared to other countries. Some of the countries that I've listed, right? Um, but it Liberians are much more inviting to everyone in general, especially African Americans. Like I said, as far as ownership, they will prefer African Americans to own things there than any other person or people from other places. And this is not just my experience, this is conversation that I've had with people and, friends as well.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that you talk about this because we've seen this all across the internet with people saying, there's this beef between African Americans and Africans, and it's mostly between Nigerians and stuff like this, but it's not really between Liberians. And people forget that Liberia there's only 5 million people. Compare that to Ghana that has like 30 million people, Ivory Coast 30 million people as well. Like Liberia, I feel like will be a lot more welcoming to a mass immigration of African Americans. And people forget about this. Liberia is a lot like African American culture already, so it's not like we're bringing in people who are culturally different. I mean, they use the U.S. system. I mean, the customary system is used there. English is used there. The flag is similar. The Constitution, everything is very similar. So African Americans would be able to adjust just fine. So I think a lot of Liberians would not have a problem.
Just a contrast. When I went 2016, I took my homegirl to Ghana, and then I took her to Liberia. So I wanted to do a comparison. She's from here, she's African American all the way. And people will look at her really weird in Ghana and try to say, oh no, she's from somewhere else. But when she went to Liberia, she blended so much. It was like, this is the vibe. They're like, my sister, welcome back. But in Ghana, it was like they look at her like a foreigner. And then again, I'm not bashing Ghana. This is just my experience. I lived in Ghana for like 6 years. You know what I mean? Like I know the place. But her experience in Liberia was just more welcoming. People are more into the African American culture in Liberia. I feel like even basketball, like music, arts, anything like that. Liberians are more welcoming to African American in their contributions to even America. Some of the conversations that have been had, like some of them talk about African American contribution to the United States. Like you will hear conversations such as African American built America, right? But you don't hear those conversations in Ghana. Like again, I'm only saying this because of my experience. So just to make the whole thing short, there is a huge acceptance of African American in Liberia. I don't even in the United States that whole comparison that African Americans are this and that, they're lazy, blah blah blah, whatever it is. I've never heard that in a Liberian Liberian household. Even with my Liberian friends, this conversation just recently started when people would tell me like, "Is it true that Africans don't like African Americans?" And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" So that's a terrible misconception, and it's overly generalized. That statement specifically, I don't think in Liberia or amongst Liberians it's like that.
All right, thank you so much. And we got the chat is busting with questions and comments. One question is from Underrated Mind. He said, besides Liberia being established by African Americans, what is one thing you believe is underrated about Liberia that our people oversee? And this is just off your personal experience. Go ahead.
Underrated. Shoot. No, what is underrated? Underrated. I think people underestimate the power of I wouldn't necessarily say friendship, but warmth, like inviting. I think people really underestimate that, right? And um,
No, that's important because no, no,
I mean, yeah, without
you can
going
go
so
on
much in
that.
depth, right? Yeah, so it's more inviting overall, not just for socially, but in the sense of business wise as well. It's just more inviting. That's something that's underestimated. When you think of a business, right? You want to look more so the location being pivotal. Like you want to know where you can do your business to get the best profit, right? That's what you want to look for. However, sustainability is another thing that you have to look for. So if you compare other places in Liberia, uh, you are not only getting invited, you're not only getting people needing you to be there. You can establish your business for it to be more sustainable because of that. However, if you're in a place where people are not so inviting, then your business could not flourish, right? Within that community or within that setting because you yourself do not feel that comfortable there, being there. So
Yeah, warmth is something important because that's something that we always hear from African Americans who are hesitant to go back to Africa. Is, oh, they're not going to welcome us. Oh, they don't really see us as one of them. They see us as, these foreigners that, are coming in to take over, or, they're just here to take our money. They're here to scam us. So when you talk about warmth, I think that's going to make some African Americans feel over the hump and say, you know what, I can take that chance because I know that people care about me.
it's
The
so
chat.
funny because
Yeah, go ahead.
this is just a funny story, but whenever I would go back there with with people and Liberians would come around, the whole vibe, they just love the whole vibe and wanting to be around people um, from the U.S. It's just not the same thing in other countries, and it's just inviting. It's really just inviting. It brings so much smile to my face.
All right. I mean, yeah, and I mean, like I said, the history's there, so like that also like he's underrated my factors in and a warmth too is important. The travel G said establishing yourself in Liberia makes the most sense. It does as an African American. Um Holip said my bad. With what she said about the corruption within the Liberian government, we might have just received our answer to the question of why Liberia hasn't sought reparations from the United States. So there is we at the BL and there are some, people within the Liberian Observer who are saying that, that the US government owes reparations to the Liberian people and to Liberia, of course, for the war, the fact that Charles Taylor was from maximum security prison in the US and he just somehow escaped. Then he went to Liberia and committed all these atrocities. There's that part. There's also the part where the US had exploited Firestone rubber, where the controversy
I
of this.
yeah, it's
Yeah, so yeah, that's what we're talking about with pushing for reparations that was owed to Liberia. Um, Rule of Two said, I used to source pecans for Chinese companies. I'm wondering what U.S. state the Liberian climate is closest to. That's an interesting question.
I used to source back in the cooking and gem company. Their state
So,
capital
what
is.
state do you think Liberian climate is, or is there no state in the U.S. like Liberia?
As far as okay, so like you want to combine like Florida and Maryland, like yeah,
All right. I mean, I know I definitely know Liberia. It's not cold. It's tropical this year. It's warm year
yeah.
round. So if you love warm weather, y'all, that's the place for you. The history and the infrastructure is there for us already set. Other countries don't have that history. They don't have that history, and we just tend to forget that like you can't other countries can't claim to have the first African American president. They just can't. Um
Right.
he said, good point. Hala from Umoja B. Baruti said, Jabari, thanks for fielding my African American immigration question to Miss EM. Harold George says, I'm a Jamaican American and would find the same problems in Jamaica. Brazilian Japanese find similar problems in Japan. Even Liberian Americans in the US face friction.
Yep.
Just got to move right and network.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
any,
Absolutely. I think networking is very pivotal, and regardless of where you are, you know.
yeah. Baruti said, Jabari, please address this to Miss EM. Since she feels that the Liberian population will welcome an African American influx, what does she feel needs to be done to enact quick, indirect dual citizenship path for African Americans? What is your take on dual citizenship for African Americans, and do you think that can be attained?
All
Is there
right. So the
anything that we
president has been fighting for dual citizenship. The president has been fighting for dual citizenship, and I think people on the ground they understand dual citizenship as white people are going to take their land, so they voted against no, they voted against it completely. So honestly, it's a lot of education. People have to be educated because when I spoke to a whole community, what do you understand dual citizenship as? Is I don't want a white person to come and take my land. No, that's not what it is. So I think people have to be educated. That's the only way this will go into, that's this is the only way we're going to affect, because they're voting against something only because they're afraid somebody's going to come and take the land. Of course, there's some valid point there, but that's not what dual citizenship is.
Yeah, and like you said, people forget, like when we talk about dual citizenship, there's still a clause in the Constitution that says only people of Negro descent can be citizens. So even if they were dual citizenship, they would have to prove that they are of Negro ancestry. So, like you said, education is vitally important, and I understand that fear because Liberia was meant to be a safe haven for African Americans and the African diaspora. So I definitely understand their concerns. Jane Lake says
Yeah.
similar to Texas, maybe. I think it's warmer than Texas. Texas is
Very,
just
very, very, it's hot in Texas. Yeah, Liberia is like that humid, a little bit humid, and warm a little bit. Yeah.
oh, I did hear it rains a lot over there. Is that
It
true?
it does rain between now. Okay, this is May. It rains between now and October. So May, June, July. This is October.
So it rains. So
But no, no, no. It does not rain like straightly. It doesn't rain like every single day. I live in
because I do
Oregon.
know.
It rains like crazy.
Oh yeah, I used to live in the Pacific Northwest, and it used to rain a lot. Like rainy days were normal for, um, you know, it'd just be ridiculous that rain. Um, Big Shepherd said Florida and Maryland, I'm down. Um, who else? Hold on, excuse me. He said dual citizenship for African is the only one that needs to be discussed. If I were Liberian, it was on the table for white folks. I would have been against it as well. Yeah, like it's understandable. Like I guess, like, and that's the important thing about framing the narrative and framing things. Framing it as no, what we mean by dual citizenship, we mean strictly for Liberians and those Africans in the diaspora. We're not talking about other people because there was something that George Weah said that he wanted to get rid of the non-Negro clause, and I think that that kind of may have possibly triggered a lot of people because when you said non-Negro clause, that's code for Lebanese, Chinese,
Yep.
Indian, and that might spark a lot of backlash. So, would you agree with Holicism on his point when he said if I were Liberian, it was on the table for white folks, I would have been against it as well?
Honestly, I sincerely say 100%. Like I said, the conversation that I've had with people there, that's the basis of the argument. We can't remove that. We just don't want this to be another South Africa, regardless of whether it's underdeveloped or not. We'd rather stand for, them not owning properties here and taking over the country versus allowing them. So that's just the whole perception.
Harlow also said, yeah, if he said that the Liberian citizens made the right choice. Um, Underrated Mind said that do people tend to compare Liberia's beaches to the Caribbean or other regions of the world?
Yes. So like there's a place called Robertsport. This is where a lot of people go to do their surfing. Like this is like huge for surfers. They actually leave Europe, Canada, wherever, just to go surf in Robertsport. And so that's comparable to like the Caribbean because it's like blue combination of blue waters. And so yeah, as far as that is concerned, the beaches are the vibe. Yeah, perhaps is the same. The vibe at the different beaches are the same. It tend to be a little cooler in Liberia versus the Caribbean. I've been to Jamaica, Bahamas. Like I've been to like 11 places on that side of town. So I kind of get the whole feel and the whole vibe is the same, but the beaches is a little cooler in Liberia.
Yeah, and speaking of Robertsport, have you heard of the? I think you're familiar with the RLJ Hotel Resort that was built by the BET owner Bob Johnson. Um,
Yeah, Robert Johnson. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. No, actually, I love that place. I actually went over there to eat when I went to Liberia in March, 2 months ago almost. It's still a really nice hotel by the beach, and the food is excellent. You can see all our people working and doing their thing, and so yeah.
Yeah, I hope to go there. I hope to see all of that. Like I can't wait. I'm glad that he did that. And he did it cheaply. He only did it for 30 million. Buy himself for 30 million. And
It's
collectively,
a
if we can
nice
get a
property. It's a nice property.
and if we could get like 500 million, like if we get 100 million, we could do a lot. If we get like collectively, we can make lots of moves. But Ruti
Yeah.
Kenzembeyo says, so Miss EM is saying that the Liberians don't mind African Americans residing in the country, but are queasy about an influx of African Americans having dual Liberian dual citizenship due to land takeover. Am I accurate about her perception?
The last part, no, it's not accurate because it's not necessarily the influx of African Americans, it's just the influx of non Negro.
Okay, so we're good on that. So, all right, Baruti, that answers your question. We're approaching on the hour. Like I said, this is straight for questions. If you have any questions, let us know. Um, Zawadi,
Come
what do you
home,
envision?
go back to Liberia, man. We welcome y'all. Come on,
That
brothers and
that
sisters.
that's what we need. This is what we need to constantly need to be generated on YouTube so that our people can get positive reinforcements and know that there is a home for them to go to because there's some African Americans who don't feel that there's a home for them. So you saying this, I think, is definitely important, and that's why I reached out to you. I was like, when I saw you in Liberia and I saw those videos, I was like, let me hit her up. Let me let her spill out some important game about Liberia so that our people can navigate.
Yeah, I have a
Can
friend
you?
from I have a girl from Atlanta who I met in Thailand when I went to visit. She actually lives in Atlanta. She's going back with me in December. She's African American. She has a beach property. I was like, I hooked her up. I said, girl, come back here. And she's all excited to start her project there. And so, I mean, the opportunities are there. So come home, man.
that that this is just making me so happy. Just knowing that there's progress being made. I think that to me matters the most. I gotta ask about the day-to-day life. When you were there, how was day-to-day life? What was the schedule? Was it, you know, very congested? Was it easy for you to get from point A to point B? What are some things that, when we go to Liberia, we need to keep in mind?
People in Liberia create unnecessary traffic. They just create unnecessary traffic that will just get you laughing. So you are to park your car on the side, on the sidewalk or whatever. They just freaking park in the middle, and then you have to say, "Dude, move," and then they move. It's like it's crazy to me. But anyway, a lot of times I was working like different project sites. So day I'll go to like four of my project sites. Like so, different areas of the country. I'll be up at 6 a.m. and I'll be gone home by 11, right? Because I'm like moving from place to place. Um, there are areas of the areas of the country that is not really congested. Like the side of Bombing County, it's not congested if you leave early. It's just depending on the time that you leave your area. So like traffic sometimes would take you like you'll be in traffic for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes in certain areas versus others is like 15 minutes, right? So it really depends on the side of town to go. I will, however, tell you that you should avoid certain areas as far as traffic. Like Douala area, you could be in traffic for an hour and a half. It's like LA. Just because, like I said, people create unnecessary traffic. Um, what else? It's hilarious though. um, what else? I
Uh,
didn't
one
get it.
person, one person said, "Can Miss EM drop her Twitter or IG so we can follow?"
You have my IG, but I also have my
Yeah,
YouTube
I'll say I
channel.
have her IG. I can just rule of two. I got her IG, so if y'all want, I can just drop it because I have her IG. Me and her follow each other on Instagram. I did not know you had a YouTube channel until I saw your videos, and I was like, oh my gosh, she has a YouTube channel.
Honestly, I created the channel because we need to change the narrative on Liberia. Because if you do your Google search or YouTube, you don't really see content relating to Liberia. You see a lot of war related things, right? For example,
Is
Rwanda, they had the whole genocide, but what the President Kagame did was to remove every negative thing on the internet, right? So
yeah, like
we
I've
all
noticed
have to
that
change the
too.
narrative.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you did that. And I've seen that you have gained a lot of subscribers over this. So like we
Yeah,
said,
they're liking
definitely
my content.
subscribe to her channel. Yeah, like, share, subscribe for content. Please subscribe to her channel. But yeah, I agree because I see it all the time. I see all this negative stuff, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's irritable. Ernest Parker said, "No, Liberians want your loyalty." Um, but you can still, I understand what he's saying about loyalty, but at the same time, I don't think that just because someone's dual citizen doesn't mean they're not loyal to their country. They're just in two different countries. You can be a dual citizen. Many countries offer dual citizen, like America does, France does, Italy does, Germany. Um, he said, even as a Liberian born man, I had to give up my American citizenship. And if you want to do that, like I said, if you want to do that, that's up to you. But there might be some people who might not want to, or they may plan to stay there, or they may plan to go somewhere else. So, do you think, I want to ask you that personally. Do you think that it should just be strictly be allowed dual citizenship, or do you think, yeah, people should give up their American citizenship or whatever citizenship they have and focus and be loyal strictly to Liberia?
I think there should be dual citizenship. I mean, some of us come to the United States and are American citizens. We take advantage of it, but I think it should be the United States. When you come here, you have to take a certain amount of years to obtain that citizenship, right? So there has to be some modification as far as who owns. I mean, you have to protect yourself somehow, right? And if you are making dual citizenship, the the key, or perhaps if you're making it the center of conversation, you just have to I don't want to say discriminate against certain people, because I mean I agree with people who say, certain people shouldn't come over here and take over other lands. I mean, I agree with that to some extent. That's just my opinion, and you can have yours. That's fine.
Oh no, that's
But
good.
the
We
modification
on the
has to
same
be,
page.
yeah. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with dual citizenship as long as like Negroes. I mean,
Yeah, that's
in my
good.
opinion,
I
that's
mean,
fine.
I mean, a lot of people in the BL would agree with you on that, so we on the same page. Amina 1389 said, "Peace and blessings, brothers and sisters." And Barusi said, "So it seems as though the current way administration, if it does tout African American dual citizenship, needs to be clearly talked about with the Liberian population about enacting an African American dual citizenship provision while keeping the non-African dual citizenship clause." Well, they're two separate clauses. To clarify, I believe they're two separate clauses. So one is you can't be a dual citizen, and then another clause is you can't be a person of non-Negro descent, be a citizen. They're two separate clauses. They're not the same clauses. So if they get rid of one clause, that doesn't mean the other clause isn't applied. So if they get rid of if they allow dual citizenship, that that doesn't mean that non-Negroes can get it. They're two separate clauses. So, Bruti, I want to clarify that to you so there's no confusion. So we would just need to advocate the dual citizenship part, not
Yeah,
the non.
Jabari, I can also talk to you. I, yeah, Jabari, I can talk to you off air about certain things, and so how that works too. So you know,
All right, I will definitely be looking forward to that. And Rule of Two said Israel offers dual citizenship. Are Jews arguing their loyalty? Like, because it's a different. Like, there's nothing wrong with being dual citizen. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, Um, Bruce Leroy said, "What are the competitive advantages of doing businesses in Liberia as opposed to other ECOWAS nations? Like, is it lower taxes? Is it,
yeah,
natural resources? Is it, the ease of doing business? What do you think gives a competitive advantage?
I
Culture,
think one of
you
the
name.
competitive advantage is ownership. Let me speak on this ownership, because I know, for example, in Ghana, I tried to acquire some businesses there, and there were some like 99 years, 100 years type of things that had to be signed, and it will be more like a lease, right?
Mm.
So depending on what it is, you can own it. So, for example, if you were to purchase a lot of land, or an acre of land, and establish a business on there, that's just yours, right? So there's some wiggle room as far as other countries versus Liberia in terms of what you can own, in addition to taxes. Very minimum taxes are due there. It's a yearly. You pay your taxes and you're all good. You're done. So that's that as well. Also, too, there is very little competition. So if you have your business, you're likely to invite more customers than not. On average, money that leaves the diaspora, the diaspora to Liberia per year is about 600 million. So all that million is going to like Indians and Lebanese and Syrian. It just kills me. It kills me. It kills me. So the
Understand.
money is circulating.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
everybody
and so
but the community.
we gotta go and compete. Yeah, we gotta go and compete. We gotta go and compete. Sorry.
Hey, that reminds me of one man said we need to compete, and he knows exactly who he is. He said it last time around. Nzinga Diggs said, "How would African Americans feel if there was a nonprofit organization that hosts the African American diaspora? If they have a good business plan, would they actually go?" That's to you personally. I think they would, but this is to you, so I will let you answer that question.
Oh yeah, definitely. Again, like I said, that would definitely work. Can you put the question back?
Oh,
I don't know
sure.
if you can. Or you can restate. How African Americans say the nonprofit. Yeah, definitely. Um, the other thing is, Jabari, I would definitely like to help in your process. That whoever you're working with, I would definitely like to help. Just because we need more of our brothers and sisters to go to Liberia. And if for me, if I will provide you with information, I'm okay with doing that. If I can provide you any assistance with no string attached, I'm okay with that. Just because I want everybody to like flourish.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much. And there are a lot of people also within the BL that would appreciate your services as well. So definitely thank you so much. I know it's approaching an hour and I don't want to keep you here for too long. Is there any last remarks that you want to say? And what vision do you have? What do you think we as African Americans, Liberians should do to make Liberia look in this time? Like, so in 5 years, where do you see things? Where do you see yourself? And where do you see the African American Liberian community? Oh, hey, Liberian TV.
All right.
Um, hey, I just want to give a shout out because I love Liberian TV. Liberian TV, thank you guys so much for what you guys do as well. So, but yeah, Zawadi, I'll let you take that. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and where do you see us as African Americans in 5 years?
All right. So currently, I am doing my CEO in training program in Oregon. This is why I relocated. So after a year, I become a CEO for the healthcare company, and then in 2 years, I'm moving back to Liberia. Okay. So yes, that's my immediate short-term plan. To relocate to Liberia and really allow my businesses to flourish the way in which I wanted to flourish. My goal, or what I wish for Liberia within the next 5 years, is to have people from here, obviously, going to establish sustainable businesses and to really connect to the soil. Liberia does have a very inviting environment for a lot of people here, and I think it's a place to explore and yeah, many of those opportunities out there for it to be explored. So that's that. I think also too, Liberia, some of the projects that I saw when I was there and what the president is doing. And again, I don't like to politicize anything at all, but the project that the president is working on, electricity, it's taking off. Like even in little villages, people are having electricity in their little homes, right? So I think that's one thing that will definitely help the whole country as a whole, and his goal to electrify the whole country and not just segment of the country is on the right path, and that's good. And I think whoever comes in or whoever goes there need to just build upon that. And with collective effort, Liberia can move in the direction that it has to go. Liberia is very secure now, I would say. Even people in Nigeria are contacting me like, "Oh, Nigeria is not safe. Can I come to Liberia?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." But keep our country safe. So yeah, go to Liberia, explore Liberia. Always, regardless of what business you want to do, Liberia, America, regardless of where you are, you still have to do basic business things. Like you have to do your needs assessment. You have to observe. You just have to really see what works. So take a visit, go visit, have an open mind, okay, and then things will be good for you.
All right. Thank you so much, thank you so much, Zawadi. Side note, I also plan on moving to Liberia in the future once, like, I finish college and get, all my information. I'm planning on moving to Liberia. You can ask a lot of people in the BL chat. We are planning to also move to Liberia because, like I said, we want to see Liberia grow as well. So once again, thank you so much. You are welcome here anytime if you want to do any promotion. Um, Hold on, wait, one quick person. Hey, Africans, we are glad you like Liberian TV. We will try to share your channel with our viewers. You're doing good job. Thank you so much, Liberian TV. We really appreciate it. Rule of Two said this was super informative, and I'm glad the way that you could provide this. I'm glad I reached out to you. You are a jewel, and we definitely, can utilize each other for great potential. So once again, Zawadi, thank you so much. Remember, guys, to like, share, and subscribe this video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you sign up to the website at balafricstan.org/register. Make sure you register on the site. And remember, we have what's called the lounge, where we have discussions, informative discussions tonight. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern, so come and join us. For BL members, you are welcome to join. And like I said, Zawadi, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
It has been my pleasure. And to all your listeners and viewers, thank you all for tuning in. Be blessed. I will actually recommend my friend Lara so she can join the group because she's also going to Liberia.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We will definitely do that. All right, BAO family. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Hey.